Hello and welcome to my domain, the winery here at Waterkloof. So today we're going to be introducing you to our team. We're going to be showing you our toys that we use to make our wines. And at the end, we're going to taste the Cape Coral Mourvèdre Rosé, as well as our Revenant Cabernet Sauvignon. So tune in, follow me. So first of all of our grapes are picked into small picking crates. So the idea is that we can sort the grapes in the vineyard, only putting the best grapes in. We're not squashing the grapes too much, and if there's any juice, the juice will run out on the side. We then cool down the grapes overnight in our cooling room. We actually also rent in containers, just because it gets so hot in South Africa and we want to inhibit any bacteria. After leaving the grapes in the cooling room at about 8-9 degrees, so the grapes is at about 13, we process the following day. So this is our conveyor. So we just tip the grapes on here, the whole bunches, so that we're actually building on the pallet. And then we've got about 5 to 6 people standing here sorting through the grapes to make sure that there's no rot going in, no leaves going in, no pruning scissors going in, nothing funky like that. And then the whole bunches will then go into our modern horizontal basket press. So here you can see the grapes fall into this press, and all this press is, it's just a plate that presses really softly onto the grapes, and then it will pull back and the cake of the grapes will crumble, and then softly it will press down or onto the grapes again. And we feel, especially with our low yields here at Waterkloof, because we're getting here on our Sauvignons, if we're lucky, 3.5 tons per hectare. So it's small berries, and you don't want to be putting it into a rotary press always, where you can make a wine that's quite phenolic. So this is the way that we feel we're making softer, more elegant wines. So the juice from the press will run down via gravity, and then from there it will settle overnight in tank. We don't add anything to it, no extraction enzymes, no settling agents, most of the time also no sulfur, so we just keep it pure and simple. Okay, so this is where I spend a lot of my time during the harvest. This is where the juice for all of our white and our rosé estate wines comes out. So the juice comes out via natural flow, and then here we taste the juice. So you'll see we've got 2 pipes that's running down into the tanks via gravity. The first one is the A juice, so that's our free run as well as our top quality juice. And the B one is the ones that we're pressing a little bit longer, a little bit harder, that when the phenolics just gets a bit too much for our estate wine range, then we cut and we'll take the juice into another tank. But just leaving it, not adding anything to it. Once again, keeping it pure, keeping it simple. So now we're standing here where we start processing our red grapes. So this is a vibrating sorting table. So we throw all of our grapes, each and every bunch of the red goes through here. The table shakes, and we have sometimes up to 10 people standing here sorting through the whole bunches, taking out any rot, any raisins, any leaves. Most of our reds we ferment a whole bunch. Currently we're only destemming our Cabernet Sauvignon as well as our Petit Verdot. We feel with the whole bunch, that's how we're building a wine that's showing terroir better, showing more structure, and that's just the wine that we want to be making. So from the sorting table, it falls into a little tank, which I'll show you now. The tank gets hoisted up, goes over our wooden fermenters. We open the door and the grapes just fall in. No pumping whatsoever. So for our reds, after leaving it for X amount of time, 30 or 40 days on the skins, we run down the wine via gravity. The free run will then go into a tank, and then we've got a separate basket press that we put underneath our wooden fermenters, and then we get in and we just shuffle the grapes out, pressing it in a basket press, so a very soft way of pressing. And then we do keep the press component separate to the free run component, but most of the time we end up blending that together. And then we put it to barrel. We don't use a lot of new oak, maximum 10-11%. On the Bordeaux varietals, Rhone varietals, we use 600 litre barrels, and there we're predominantly using older barrels. And like I said, we leave our wine for sometimes up to 3 years in barrel. So this is where we ferment most of our estate whites in older 600 litre French oak barrels. Because we don't add any yeast, so the only thing that's in this barrel at the moment, which is about now for close to 5 months, is juice. It's just juice coming from our horizontal basket press, settled naturally, and we wait. And that's how we feel we're making a wine that's expressing the terroir when you're not adding any yeast coming from Spain or Portugal or France or wherever, using the yeast indigenous to the estate. So fermentation here, it can take, we've had ferments going for 15 months. When you add a packet of yeast, your fermentation can take about 2 weeks or so, and that's quite a fast fermentation. But for us, we enjoy fermenting in these wooden barrels. They're 600 litre barrels. They've got lovely oxygen ingress. They're all older barrels to just be a vessel for the fermentation. And with the shape of the barrel, it produces the CO2, so your fine lees, which is your dead yeast cells, can be in suspension, and that gives you nice complexity on the wine. So once springtime starts, then the fermentation will go a little bit faster. At the moment we're in July now, it's just ticking away, so we're just testing it a lot, tasting it a lot, and keeping the barrels full. And but I can promise you, it's going slowly but surely. Part of our toy range at Waterkloof is these concrete eggs. We actually have 15 of them, and we're still playing around, but currently we're fermenting our base wines, Pinot Noir and our Chardonnay for MCC in here. We've got some Chennons in here, some Chardonnay. So the idea with these concrete eggs is that with the shape of them, they keep your lees, which is your dead yeast cells, in suspension for longer, especially with our natural fermentation, which takes a lot longer. They also don't conduct heat, so your temperatures don't shoot up as it will in a stainless steel tank, so it takes up the ambient temperature a lot better. And they also have a breathability aspect to them. So you've got that oxygen ingress, which we like so much coming from a barrel. So why rather use them to a barrel is that it gives you a nice blending component, making wine that still have a beautiful structure, but that's a little bit more fruit driven, a bit more lifted in style. But as I said, here at Waterkloof, we're always experimenting, we're always playing around, and this is our latest one that we have. Great, and then you can follow me. Here's my office, my very, very small office. Okay, so today we're also introducing you to our wonderful cellar team who deserves all the accolades they can get. So first of all, we're talking to Roelien.
Mijn naam is Roelien. Ik werk bij Waterkloof voor de afgelopen 10 jaar. En ik heb dus in de Winger begin. Toen na 14, toen ik ben Nadia aangesluit. En vandaar is het een baie goeie experience. Van mensen kan ons zien waar vanavond heb ik nou begin tot nou. Waar alles gebeur en hoe die wijn nou in die bottel komt. En dat is een baie great experience om zoiets te ervaren. Elke dag. Die laptop gebruik ik nou wanneer ik nou die samples doe. En dat wijst mij elke wat nou in die wijn is. Zoals die suiker, die melk is, die total is. Dat wijst het voor mij. En dan heb ik een machientje waar ik nou die swal doe. So dat is nou die mindfood, dat is wat ik nakijk elke dag. Gunsteling ding, elke dag op te staan en die view te kijken. Elke dag, dat is nou nogmaals. So ja, elke dag op te staan en weer te komen is amazing. So ja, die view.
Ik is Morne, ik is nu 10 jaar bij Waterkloof. Ik is in die keller. Ik werk buiten soos batelier. Al parste is my baie interessant. Leer baie van die drywe. Ek is 8 in die vatenkamer. Help van Mervin vaat te stek, vaat te skuif, pomp, blending en daai tipe goedes. Ek sien meestal uit vir braai, al parstye en 'n bier. En kan ek nou sê, ek sien meestal uit na pars. Al as ons laat werk, 'n bietjie oefening, pars gooi, daai tipe van dingetjies. En wat vir my meestal uitsien, wat ek meestal uitvoorsien is die sinsoudrywe as dit inkom. En dit proe ook vir my baie lekker. Ek geniet die wyn.
Mijn naam is Mervin. Ik weer in de kelder. Ik werk met vaten, stikvaten, stoomvaten en alles met die vaten. Mijn gunsteling is als ik kom met die vaten te werk. Vaten te stek is niet makkelijk. Voor mij is het niet makkelijk, want ik weet al hoe vaten te stek. Sporen op te zetten, vaten lijn te zetten. En vaten te skei wat vol is, wat klarig is het is. Het is makkelijk voor die andere mannen om het te doen, maar voor mij is het makkelijk om het te doen, want hoe kan ik zeggen, ik heb ondervinding om vaten rond te schuiven. Paarstijd is altijd voor mij lekker wanneer je met die vaten werkt, je met een stoom, een zwaal, oorzo'n water in tap, en UV-light in zit. In volgende jaar is het weer. Maar net weer oor begin met alles weer tot die vaten reg is. Ek het eintlik altyd vir my gesê, as 'n vaat nie reg rykie en dit hom klaar gestoom of gejoewe nie, dan as jy jou vaat so ryk en as jou vaat reg ryk, dan is hy reg om op die spore te gaan en hy kry hy sy kan ek sê sy sap kry in die vaat.
So tasting today our Cape Coral Mourvèdre Rosé, the 2019. So this has gone through our horizontal basket press, whole bunch pressed. You can see in the color that we don't do any extended skin maceration on it at all. And then we let it settle overnight without adding anything to it. The next day we rack it off, take the clean juice, we put it into these wooden fermenters, and voila, nature takes its course. Natural fermentation. We leave it on the lees for about 6 months or so, just for the wine to build proper structure on it and to represent a wine that's got a nice sense of place. So with this rosé, I would not describe it as exceptionally fruity rosé. It's more a restrained style. It's the perfect pairing of so many different dishes. If you taste it, you'll taste that we don't acidify it. It's all natural acidity, so it generally has a lower acidity on the wine. And it pairs well with Asian dishes, I would say. Something with soya sauce works quite nicely, and then also quite a bit of salmon I like to enjoy with this. So Cape Coral 2019. Revenant Red Cabernet Sauvignon 2017. As you can see on the label, the whole concept is to get an old idea and revitalize it. So at Waterkloof, as you know, what we've been talking about today is old school winemaking. So with this Cabernet Sauvignon, this was destemmed, all naturally fermented in our wooden fermenters. We left this in barrel for over 2 years, and we took it out, gave it a basic filtration, and put it to bottle. So the style that we're making is definitely that typical beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon qualities, nice ripe fruit coming through. And then on the palate, because we left it for such a long time in barrel, it's very nicely soft, concentrated, beautiful length, and we just do a basic filtration. So we're not fiddling with it too much, we're not adding any powdered tannins, we're just keeping it simple, keeping it old school, and making wines with a true sense of place. So Revenant Cabernet Sauvignon 2017.